Welcome back, everybody, to Parkitect. In the last episode of Parkitect, we tackled Biscayne Beach, and we actually got the golden button for that one. We got the both achievements, the optionals and the required. So now we're gonna be moving on to Highway Hijinks. So the description for this is a few acres of flat land, perfect for an amusement park. The problem, a highway cuts right through the middle. So the scenario goals is to have at least 550 guests in your park, have an optional park rating of at least 80%, and then two optional goals, one to have at least 250 guests in your park. So I assume that's going to unlock something for us. And then third, the other optional goal is to be done with this park by August year 3. So it's a little bit different than Honey Hills because you can't have any loan debts. This is a lot harder than Highway Hijinks is going to be. So we're going to load in here and hopefully kind of check out this area and see what we got going on here. Alright, let's pause this so we don't lose any money. So we got a nice modern looking entrance area here with a nice pond, some nice modern buildings, I would say, glass, metal. We have a pond up here. We have a lot of space too, and then we can build on this other side as well. So we are allotted a lot of space. We do have some terrain, which is a little bit different than some of the other parks that we've done, and then our depot is back here. So with the rides, we have 4 calm rides, carousel, bumper cars, car ride, and Ferris wheel. And then for thrill rides, a go-kart, a jumper, and a top spin. So probably all 3 of these are going to go in. At least these 2, the jumper and top spin, are going to go right in off the bat. And I guess hopefully we can get that going. And we have a junior coaster and a wild mouse as well. So those aren't going to be too big of money makers. So maybe we'll even start some research on coasters right away, get that going, and then transport rides, none, water rides, none. So we're hopefully going to get a good amount of income from these 2. We're going to start with those, and then we'll work our way first coaster, and then hopefully we can get some more extreme coasters as we go on. It's going to be, hopefully it'll be easy. We got a lot of space to clear, like to make stuff in, so hopefully that would make it a little easier. But then again, we do have a lot of hard goals to meet. So with that being said, why don't we head into the time lapse and achieve and complete this park? Alright, so before we get into this time lapse, I do want to mention one thing, and that is that I did get a new mic over the break between when I recorded the intro for this park and I'm actually doing the voiceover now. So you guys might notice a little bit of a difference in mic quality. Hopefully it's for the better, and I know I talked about that in one of my more recent Golden Gulch episodes, so if you guys may have noticed that, or you guys should go check those out if you haven't. But basically I just got a new mic, so it might sound a little bit different, and you will really be able to notice that from the intro till now. But from now on, it'll most likely be this mic, so I should sound like this, and hopefully it sounds better. So anyway, what we are doing in this episode so far, we have really changed the whole pathing layout. You could see that in the intro, it was all dirt pathing. Now we changed that to more of a concrete asphalt, more of a city type ground, and then we actually placed 2 rides down already. The first one, which is the Ferris wheel, we'll get to that a little bit later on. I won't worry about that too much with the queue cover and all of that stuff. And then we placed down a Ferris wheel. That is the one that we're working on currently. It is when you come down the stairs right into the park, you actually turn left and it's right there. And the reason why I put it there is you can see that the path leads up to it, but the ride is blocking the pathing from going back into that area. And you'll see why once we get a little bit deeper into the episode. Actually, when we get closer to the halfway mark, we're going to start working back there. So by the end of this whole half, we'll be basically completing the whole first part of this whole park, and then on the next half we'll probably go across the bridge and maybe even finish up, do some touch-ups over here, but mainly work across the bridge and finish up over there and hopefully reach our goal. So after that we're going to work on the Wild Mouse coaster. Now, you know that in Parkitect, almost every first coaster you get is a Wild Mouse coaster, and it's a really cheap way to try and bring in guests if you make them right. So you have to put in a lot of work into them, and it's really just making sure that it has a right excitement rate, fear rate, and all that stuff, nausea rate. So
This one's, I really try and make them kind of long just to kind of get a lot of time out of them, and hopefully it makes it more exciting and a little bit more fearful. So this one is a little bit of a longer layout than I have made in the past. A lot of my past layouts have been super quick, and some of them were super long as well. This one's, I would say, not too long, but it's not fast either. You go up, you turn out of, or you drop, I should say, out of the station, and then do a turn into another turn, and then you're going to go up the lift hill, and then after that you are going to go into the normal snaking motions of a wild mouse coaster. Then you're going to hit a block break, you're going to dip down, and then you're going to do a sharp U-turn, and then into a double down, and then up, and I think after a turn you go into another set of block breaks, and then you go out and down another double down, and then turn right, and then kind of snake your way back up to the brake run, or it's not really a brake run, but the exit station. I did split these two stations up into two stations, and the reason why I did that is because of efficiency, and I wanted more trains as well. So hopefully, since this is our only coaster currently, when people start coming in here, I'll be able to be making the max amount of profit that I can from this ride. Now we have done a lot of stuff since I was talking about the Wild Mouse coaster. We kind of started on this entrance area in the shops and stuff. We put down an umbrella shop and a coffee shop, I believe that is or it's a drink shop. It's one or the other. I don't remember exactly which one, and I can't really see the symbol through the little brick there, but it is a shop, and we'll take a look at how these things are functioning. Obviously, we'll ride the Wild Mouse coaster in the mid-course like we do every time. But this building is brick, and it also has like that metal roofing. So I'm really trying to stick with that feeling of the entrance area buildings that we were given, and that's really going to help with the overall experience rating. And I kind of looked this up. I wanted to make sure that I knew how to get the experience rating up. And that is by making sure that your buildings are all close to the theme of the park, and also making sure that your place is clean and people are enjoying the prices and all of that. And it's really everything that goes into it, even the building styles, which I didn't think was that important until after I kind of read about it. So this is me just kind of testing the layout. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when you saw that rain when we were working on the little the entrance shop area, it actually shut down the ride because, thunderstorms shut down roller coasters, and I noticed that a train was stuck in the middle, like it valleyed, and I had to fix that, so I wanted to make sure that it was working just fine, and eventually it was. So after that we did some colors, we did a little bit of queue work and some station work. The station is just the metal walls with a metal roof and some wooden covers there, and then the queue we did some wooden pergolas and then a fencing. That's just simple. And then I changed the colors of the coaster to a red and black, tried to make it look a little bit more modern than it typically does, especially because Wild Mouse coasters really don't look that modern if you keep them in their normal stock colors that the game puts them in. So now after that we're putting a top spin right in front of the big looping area of the Wild Mouse coaster, and by looping area I just mean like the back and forth, the S's and stuff. So it's just gonna fit right in there. Make sure it has a lot of clearance for the roller coaster just in case something happens, and make sure that the ride doesn't hit the roller coaster because that could be catastrophic. And then we put on the queue, and actually with the queue I kept the theme of the roller coaster coming over, so we used the wooden pergolas, and we did actually some little foliage work on top, make it look a little bit prettier. And I actually really love how those two queues work in together and how they look overall. And now we are finally getting to our Ferris wheel queue. So this one I just made a nice golden cover. I've done this one a lot just because it's one path, and when it has a lot of different curves, I just used the other one, the other pitched roof, or I turned it, and then it makes a nice little pattern there. And I like how it turns out with the little wooden borders. So that's what we did there. Just really simple, really easy, and it doesn't look too bad. So now we are kind of doing a little bit more of the behind the scenes. We put down our staff building because I was noticing that none of the staff were working because they were too tired. So I had to do that. Connected our little staff building, not our staff building, but the depot and the little depot that helps supply the normal shops, and we put that in there. And I also noticed, I noticed this a little bit later, but I put down an info kiosk in the middle down by those shops, and I actually didn't need to do that because the park comes with an info kiosk. So if you ever play in this park or this scenario and you're gonna put an info kiosk down, don't do it. Do something else. I noticed that a little bit later. It's a good waste of money, I would say. You could be making money on something else instead of having two back-to-back info kiosks. So after that little mishap, we'll change that a little bit later on. But for right now, I wouldn't notice it in the time lapse. So you'll see me change that just a tad bit later on. Anyway, now we are moving on to the next part. And this area, I really wanted to have a go-kart track. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do, like the layout wise, or even where I wanted to put like my next ride. I didn't know if a ride would be more beneficial down here or if the go-kart track would, because I knew I wanted to have one in this park. And I figured, the go-kart track is probably the best one to go in this area, really just because it can go down the stretch and then kind of use that little extra area down at the bottom and then make its way back up in a nice little loop that's not going to be too long and cause huge wait times. Now, in the last episode, Biscayne Beach, nope, not that one, on one of the past episodes, I don't remember which one now, but I did make a go-kart track, and it really did not do anything. Oh, it was the industrial one. Now, Happy Co Harbor, that would be the one that I did make a go-kart track on, and it failed. It failed so bad, I don't really know why, because this layout is even shorter, and it's not as interesting. I don't think it is anyway. It doesn't have any building interaction, but yet it became super, super, super popular. So that one really surprised me. I made the entrance price super low, and then it had a huge line, so I bumped it up, and now it's like $7 for one ride, and people are still backing up the queue for it. So that's kind of crazy. And this is also the go-kart ride. This line got really, really heavy as well, and then it started to die down at the end. But you can see this is the queue. It's full. I didn't even make it that big of a queue just because I didn't think it was going to get that full, but it did. And now I'm going to have to kind of worry about the prices, which is actually a good thing, since we need to be making a good profit in order to get what we want to get going in the next part of the park. Now, something that I didn't talk about in the intro, which was a good while ago now, but when we get to the other half of the park, and actually when we hit about 250 guests, I think it is, the park gives us the Giga Coaster. So that'll be going on the other side. It'll probably be more of an Intamin Giga style instead of the traditional B&M Giga Coaster. So that'll be on the other side, and it'll be probably the biggest coaster in the park, and then we might put one more over there as well. And then hopefully we will be able to, with those two more coasters, and we're actually going to be building one more here in the next couple of minutes. So after we'll have 4 total, and hopefully after that we will be able to hit our goal of people and the rest of our goals as well. So we have just put down the jumper ride. This one just kind of was in my thing. I needed a lot of thrill rides, as you do normally in these scenarios. So I just put this one right next to the bumper cars, kind of fit in the area, especially with the pathing kind of going right up to the pond there. And then it's a simple queue cover and ride cover, actually. I did put a cover on this one since it is a low-to-the-ground flat ride, so it's kind of easier to do. And it just has a nice, like, chocolate roof with a little step up and then a spire on top. So now, we did have a little bit of a cut, you might have noticed it, but that was just because I kind of got a little bit low in money, as we are right here. There's a little bit of cuts now, because we are finally in debt. We used all of our money, and now that it's raining, we're losing money a lot. So anyway, now we are going to be placing down, we already did place it down, but we'll be working on it just a little bit, is this G-Lock, or I think it's Zero G-Lock. It's one of the other in-game, but it's one of these crazy rides that are super intense and usually the one time I did use it, brought in a lot of people. So I placed that down, and hopefully it'll be profitable. Here's me just looking at my finances there. I did take a loan because I wanted to get this coaster done really quick, and then eventually we'll be done with this half, which we're actually coming up on it after we finish this coaster. So the inspiration for this coaster, and it was really hard to kind of figure out what I wanted to do since I really have a small amount of space. I had to do a lot of terraforming to get it to look how I wanted it to look, and trust me, while I'm building it, it doesn't look that good. But eventually we'll get it up to the lift hill, and after the first drop, it starts to get looking a little bit better. And actually, I really like how the first drop turned out because it butts up right to the edge of the G-Lock ride, and it gives a lot of good interaction between the padding, the ride, and the roller coaster. So, anyway, the kind of manufacturer for this ride would probably be GCI. This is more of a GCI type coaster, and it has that turning downward drop, and then it's going to have a lot of banked turns. Not really that traditional wooden coaster like we made in the last one on Biscayne Beach, but this one was kind of hard in the end to try and figure out this area in particular, because I wanted to put another helix next to this helix that we just created right next to the road, and I just couldn't figure out how I wanted to do this. Now that I think about it though, I might have been able to buy some area next to the park and maybe even been able to expand this coaster outwards. But in the end, this coaster does look pretty darn good. We just figured out the helix there, and now we're just trying to bring it back into the brake run. So we did a little airtime hills there, and then it cuts right over the first drop, and then goes into the brake run. So that is pretty much the layout. We'll give this one a ride as well, just with the Wild Mouse coaster in the mid-course, which is coming up pretty soon, where you just got a little bit of things to touch up here, especially those hideous tunnels, and we're going to start doing the station for this, and that's something that we're really going to have to look at in the mid-course is really what this station turns out to be, because I hit 2 hours on this part of the time lapse. I've worked on this this park for 2 hours and then a little bit over to finish up the station. So the time lapse will actually cut out at eventually at the end of this. So that's the reason why, is because I went over 2 hours and it stopped recording after that. So I'm pretty lucky, I think, to actually have this file still. But so now that we have gotten that little bit out of the way, we are just trying to finish out this area, and I wanted the terraforming to look at least a little bit good, especially because this ride is really close to the highway, and I figured it would be a pretty impactful part of drawing people in, because a lot of parks want to have those huge iconic rides right next to the highway, so that people want to go and say, hey, I want to ride that, and that looks really fun and all that stuff. So now that we are finally nearing the end of this time lapse, we have about 40 more seconds here. We're doing just a little bit of cosmetic stuff. We're going to start the station. I think it actually changes a lot, and we'll see that in the mid-course, but other than that, the general idea is that there's going to be a concrete bottom with a colored wall top and then some roofing. But as I said, we'll go back into that in a little bit more detail after the mid-course. So as we near that mid-course, hopefully we can hit the next part, and we'll talk about a bunch of more stuff in that mid-course. So after this cut, we'll go to the mid-course. Alright, so we are here in Highway Hijinks. Here, let me put this in play mode so we can get this music to go away and hopefully get it a little bit quieter so you guys can hear me, if you guys can't already. So this is what the park looks like right now. We have a nice amount of people in here. We have about 365, so that would mean that we have the coaster actually we have the Giga Coaster unlocked. So it's this one. It does look like the Intamin Giga Coaster. That's why I said it's probably gonna be an Intamin Giga style. And we also got the water coaster, so we could incorporate that maybe over here. We do have a lot. I feel like there's a lot more land over here than there is on the other side. So we should be able to get that nice sprawling Giga Coaster out here. And then we have some more rides over here. We have the Turbulon, which is really expensive, but that's our only thrill ride left that we don't have right now, so I am researching those currently. And then we also have the Haunted House and the car ride. So we have a couple rides that we can still work with here. Now looking at the park right now, it is going to be a little bit loud kind of looking at this, but the go-kart, not the go-kart, but the Ferris wheel is right here. If you can sneak a peek in there, doesn't look to be much of a line, and there's nobody out here as well, so it's kind of an ride. And now this is Funnel Cakes, is the actual shop name. I couldn't remember that, and I know I didn't know what it was in the time lapse. So for those wondering, that is a funnel cake shop. And then I put an ATM stand here instead of having the info kiosk, because there's an info kiosk here. And there's actually a bunch of shops up here. I didn't even notice these ones on the side. Here, let me check what that is, if there's not even anyone in there. Let's see. Hide scenery. Yeah. Never mind, there's nothing in there. But there's a restroom here, so we do have back-to-back restrooms. And that was the idea of putting a restroom over here too, is because I thought we only had 2 restrooms, but I guess we don't. So, now going back to the front of the park, if I can hit the hide scenery, there we go. This is the Wild Mouse coaster. We do have a bunch of cars always waiting on the block, which I guess isn't the best thing, but, hopefully it does increase the efficiency than what it would be with one big long station. I don't really know if the efficiency really increases or decreases. And this line has been full really since I placed down the ride, and the ride is running a $9 profit for each rider, which is crazy. We can maybe bump that up to $9.50, let's say. Not 95, but that's $8.50. 9.5. Nope, that's not 9.5. 9.50. There we go. So that could be maybe a little bit. But let's take a ride on this then, shall we? Let's get on this one. So this ride, as I've kind of mentioned the layout of it, it's not really the typical Wild Mouse. Each Wild Mouse, well, most Wild Mouses are clones, but the ones that I make in Parkitect, they are not clones, just because I try and use the environment and the space to my advantage. So this one really tried to fit into this area, and it was a little bit uneven in terrain, so I did use that as well. But here is the traditional snaking motions here with the you cut back turns, and then we hit the brake run, and then really fast-paced part, and then into more brake runs. And we just got hot drinks. Oh, I thought I was researching a ride. I guess not. So why don't we first set that to thrill ride? Oh, it is on thrill rides. I guess it was just doing a shop. So now that we have hot drinks, we can add that. And something you guys probably didn't notice in the time lapse was me putting in this vending machine, and you wouldn't notice that because I did not put that in during the time lapse. So this is the go-kart track. We can give this a ride too. Just maybe one. Never mind. I guess it's redoing their thing. So while we wait here, just a little overview of that. It comes back here, all the way back here, and the I guess there really won't be any more rides coming back here unless it's a motion simulator ride, since that doesn't have much of a line here. Or not much of a line, but much of a footprint. So just a little POV of this. Goes into a tunnel here, and then underneath the little station, and it does 2 laps, but we're only going to ride 1 for time purposes, since this episode is getting pretty long already. Now, coming back over here, the entrance to our Ferris wheels right here. Nothing too special there. We have a restroom and a first aid block here, though. And then our bumper cars, which aren't making much money. We have them at $3. Figured it would be pretty acceptable for this ride, but I guess not. And then we can come over here. You guys can ignore this station really quick because I'll talk about it in a minute. Not much of a line for the jumper. That's kind of weird. It started out with a really huge line, and then coming over here, it just gained all of it. It just started to board, but it really had a huge line here, and this one's running a $5 profit. We could probably bump that one up. And now for the moment you guys probably might have been waiting for here. This is the wooden coaster based off of a GCI, and something that I don't like about this coaster is how unsupported it is. And that's just because of how it interacts with it. But basically, it turns out of the lift hill, turns out of the station, goes into the lift hill, does a turning drop into some more turns, helixes, a little bit of airtime, and then into the brakes. And it runs a really good operation. Usually when this one's coming back into the brakes, then the other one has just left the station. And speaking of this station is not how you guys last saw it. You guys probably last saw it with the concrete, and you might have caught a glimpse of the yellow. There was no roofing, no borders, but this is the final product of it. If we go hide scenery, the queue is up here and the exit path is down here, but I just decided to cover it all, and I actually really like how this one turned out in the end. And then it has that little extra little jut out there for the station, but the entrance and exit are right here. So now, with all that being said about the station, we are gonna ride this one because nobody's on it. And actually, that's something to point out. This ride doesn't really have much of a queue, which is a little bit weird. I figured this one would have a huge queue, but this train is running empty. Oh, okay. Well, I guess an empty train is okay, I guess. I guess it's not really going to hinder our experience, but it's going to hinder this park's performance in terms of money. Alright, so now that we are done with that, we should be heading to a mid-course, or not a mid-course, we just did the mid-course, but our second time-lapse, where we focus on this side of the park, and we're going to be creating a Giga Coaster, possibly a water coaster, to get us to the goals. And by the way, our goals so far, we need 550 just to recap, and we have 373 right now, and then we have a 75% overall park rating, so we need about 5% more. And then hopefully we can get this done by year 3 of August. We are in year 2 July, so we're about halfway there. So we got a long way to go, so why don't we head back to a time lapse? Alright, so I'm not gonna lie about this part of the time lapse, but it is gonna be a little bit sporadic. We're gonna be kind of jumping around, and that might be just a little bit due to money, but also because of how the park is performing and how close we are getting to the goals. So, what I mean by that is basically we're gonna be putting in some rides here and there. We're gonna be doing some queue covers and scenery here and there. We might put in a shop here and there. So it might just be kind of random, and then I tried to cut out as much as I could of like doing all the vandalism and stuff, fixing all that, because that got really heavy at one point, and it really took a toll on the overall park rating. And that's one of the big goals that we need, is to have a really good park rating. So we had to make sure that that was good, and I just kind of cut that out because that's really some of the boring stuff. But going right into the time lapse, we've put in 2 flat rides and already started our Giga Coaster. So the first flat ride is the haunted house, and that based off of past parks, it has been a pretty profitable dark ride. Not really dark ride, but just attraction in general. And then also we have our little Turbulon here, and it is a pretty profitable ride as well. So I really just needed 2 things that would draw people over here and actually start getting a profit again that would be very beneficial for this park. And then you can see we did the queue covers for those. Pretty simple, just the wooden roofing and then some metal roofing and then wooden little borders. And then we're also doing some garden work here. Gonna do a little bit of scenery just to make it feel a little bit more like a little plaza area, and it kind of fits in with the theme of this haunted house, really, because the house has all this gardening and brickwork. So that's kind of the theme that we went with a little there. Overall, this park really has 3 areas. It has that front part, and then it has this back part towards the road, and then we have this across the road. We have a different section as well. So we kind of have a little bit of sections, so we could do a little bit different theming with it. Now, we are currently working on the Giga Coaster. It is back on the very left side is where the station is, really close to the highway, and the reasoning for that is, well, in realistic terms, the big attractions are sometimes near the roads, that it would bring guests in from these roads. It would draw in their attention and be like, ooh, I want to go ride that. So that's kind of the thinking there. So that's what I put the big drop next to the highway as well. So basically all the tall elements, like the super tall, really the beginning, is all next to the highway, and then it breaks right on the other side. It is a basically out and back, but it goes really far and uses the land to its advantage. And we'll give this a ride during the ending, of course. And something else you might notice during this time lapse is a lot of different cuts, and as I said, that's because we were pretty sporadic, and I didn't want to include everything because not everything is as interesting as designing a roller coaster like this. So this is me just giving it a ride. You can see how it covers so much space, and then we're actually going to make another little plaza back here, and that's basically, we're going to put in a drink, not a drink shop, but a what is it? Vending machine is what we put in there, and a toilet stall. Right now it is a drink shop, and we'll play around with that, and I might have cut it out of what actually happened, But basically, we put down this little depot here. Not yet, but we do. And then I tried to connect it to the actual transportation line of goods so that there wouldn't be crates walking around, because that also affects the park rating. And I couldn't connect it because I don't own any land that is over or under the highway. So I kind of got screwed there. So I just decided, you know what, we're going to put a vending machine back here, and we'll let somebody bring crates back there. And it might have affected how long it took to complete this scenario. We do complete it in the end, but we've completed it, so it's okay. And then we did this huge building that covered basically all that dark space back there. It was a pretty modern building, taking inspiration from the initial buildings that we were given again. And that's basically a wood and metal roof with a little bit of glass in there, making it look really modern. And then another thing that I don't normally do in Parkitect scenarios is do a little bit of terrain work, especially when it comes to water. But I decided to put in a little pond here since we already had three. This would be the third pond in this whole park. But I figured I needed this area basically because I needed to dip down the terrain so that the coaster wouldn't be going underground, and also because if I were to move down the terrain, and it would be like making a huge wall against the turbulon ride, and that's just really ugly. So I decided to make a little pond there and kind of incorporate it into that wall and make it look a little bit less dingy and like not cared for. So then we put down our final ride, and by this point in the time lapse, we have already been we already hit our first goal, which is to hit 500 people, I believe. So we put down that last ride. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a really spinning ride. We'll look at it in a minute. And then we're going to do this queue and also the station for our Giga Coaster. So those are the last two things that we're going to do. I cut out a lot, so we are actually nearing the ending really quick. It was a pretty quick little time lapse here for this third part, but we got a lot of stuff done. And again, we're gonna stick with this modern theme here with the wood and the metal, and then some blue borders as well. And then we're also gonna do some blue pillars, and this area is really just gonna be completed. So after this, we're pretty much done. Maybe a few benches going here and there, and you can see if we would have put this Giga Coaster in at the beginning, we would have been floating. The amount of people that come in to ride this is insane. The queue is full, as you can see right now. Well, not anymore because we just covered it up with the queue cover, but it was full. And this queue cover is a little bit different. I did add a little glass element there, and that's why the borders are there, just to kind of highlight that. But other than that, we only have one other thing, and that is this little shop that we already created. But basically, we're replacing the vending machine with a drink stand because people in this park were super thirsty. And then we also are going to put in a mini donut stand in there, and then we're going to be putting in a depot so that the crates aren't walking around everywhere. So that's the last thing that we're doing. So now we're gonna go to the end portion and hopefully sum up the rest of this park after we finish building this building. And basically it's going to keep that same vibe going, except with those blue borders that the building had already had. So I will see you guys in the other side of this cut. Alright, so we have just completed Highway Hijinks. Alright, so we just got the confetti. We have 609 guests in the park. We have a overall park rating of at least 80%. Let's actually, oh wait, we already have that open. We actually have an overall of 83, so we're a little bit above, which is a little bit of a buffer. We got the one optional goal, but we didn't get the other. We had to complete it by August of year 3. It is currently June of year 4. So we kind of missed the mark on that one, but I think it was a little bit worth it because we have this amazing Giga Coaster to bask in its glory. We didn't end up putting that fourth coaster that I thought we might need, which is that water coaster. We never put that in. We didn't really need it. When we placed this one in and we started getting the people in here, we hit 600 guests like really, really fast, and there was no need to put in another one. I basically put in this ride just to get a little bit more people in here. And by the way, I couldn't tell you guys what it's called, but it is the Transformer, and it is kind of a sickening ride almost. Now, if you guys can hear that, it's probably the chain of the Giga Coaster. It's kind of hard to, it's a little annoying. You might have been able to hear it, and I also did a little bit of gardening here. But this is what the ride does. It is really crazy. I've never seen a ride ever do this. But it also, like, it'll rise up, and then it'll start flipping. Here, let's see if we can speed this up. until it starts doing that. Okay, so I think it starts flipping in a second. There it is. So it's really kind of crazy, and I've never seen a ride that does that before. So I just thought that was a little interesting. But now, actually, let's catch this one while it's leaving the station. Kind of looking at this area over here. Really full queue. Well, it might not be full anymore because the train just left. We have a restroom block and a little vending machine here. So let's take a little ride on you here. And then we'll play. Alright. So this, as I said in the mid-course, is an Intamin Giga Coaster. Even though it's not a cable lift, it does look more like an Intamin than a B&M. So that's what I'm going to call it. And the harnesses and the train also look more like an Intamin coaster more than a B&M coaster. So I went for a little bit more, well, I guess they're kind of almost the same. But this is the layout that I came up with to be able to fit into this area. So it goes down the first drop and then does a little overbank turn here, and then down the second drop, and then to the opposite side a turning downward spiral, and then does a couple of airtime turning hills here, and then that's the only jank part right there that has a really crazy turn, and then nice airtime hill, and then turns back into the brakes. Has nice speed, has a nice layout. I think it could be a little bit longer, but we only have 2 trains running on it, so it has pretty good operations though, because the trains are super long. So that's our third area that we worked on in the second part of the time lapse. Now we can kind of come over here and look at what we did in the beginning part. We will look at what we actually did change over here, which is this little shop. We have a hot drinks shop, which and then we also have a lead donut shop, and then we have something in there as well. So actually, that should not be like that. Let's beat that. That should not be a staff. I don't know what's wrong with that. It shouldn't just be a staff path. It's okay, it doesn't matter. We just completed the scenario. So why don't we leave the scenario? We're gonna save it, and then we'll see what our trophy is, and we'll look at what our next park will be. So we'll quit. Alright. So, nice trophy here. We have the bridge from Highway Hijinks. It's not as detailed as I remember it to be. I guess we may not be able to see the brick in scenario, but that's what it looks like, and see how it hides there. But now the land clears. We also got a little highway there going from the docks into more tunnels here. And our new scenario is Orchard Acres. So happiness of 70%, 600 guests, sell 1,200 park tickets, no loan debt, satisfaction of 70%. So it looks like based off of those goals, we're gonna have to go with Honey Hills. Oh, and one thing that I did forget to mention while in the scenario, our operating profit. I don't know if it tells us out here. I don't know. It was pretty good. We were making like $1,000 at least a month, so that's really good. So yeah, we're gonna go into Honey Hills, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Parkitect, and make sure to have an amazing day.